tonight on Evening. They're sold all over the country and made in our own backyard.
And that really took off and put us on the map.
From a timeless jacket to celebrity-endorsed socks. Plus, a condiment that adds a crunchy kick to anything you eat.
Mix it with an ice cream.
It's a special edition of Evening, made in Washington.
Welcome to a special edition of Evening. I'm St. Brian, and this show is all about locally made products that have made a name for themselves all across the country, like Franz Chocolates. We are in their headquarters in Georgetown, where they also make all of their sweet confections. Inside this chocolate palace, the fragrant factory floor at Franz is a hive of activity, churning out one of its signature salted caramels, sold all across the country. All right, so what's going on right now?
So they are enrobing the smoked salt caramel. Basically, I like to describe as a chocolate waterfall, and then it's hand salted. So we've got several people that are picking up the salt by hand and putting that perfect little line on. So we really care about the presentation.
Over the decades, Andrina Bigelow has gone from mother's little helper.
You know, I was involved washing dishes and mopping the floor, wrapping gold bars,
to CEO of Franz Chocolates. It was her mother, Fran Bigelow, who decided to sprinkle gray sea salt over a chocolate-dipped caramel.
People weren't quite ready for it. You know, they didn't really want a caramel with salt on it. It sounded off. You know, they didn't understand why she was putting salt on caramel, but she kept giving it away to customers for free as samples, just trying to get people to try it.
Then the New York Times wrote about him, Oprah raved about him, and their biggest fan, President Obama, began giving them away in special boxes as keepsakes.
And that really took off as our #1 selling confection and put us on the map at that time.
Franz continues to produce new products, keeping the chocolate palace churning. Franz Chocolates aren't just sold around the country, they actually have a boutique store in, of all places, Kyoto, Japan. Well, from sweet to spicy. There's a Seattle couple that has created a condiment that gives a crunchy kick to any food, and they've gained a big following all across the country. Here's Jim.
From the start of Ruby Sparks and Rob Grissett's relationship, family and food have always been at the forefront of their lives.
Some people like to go to museums, we just like eating.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. That's all we want to do.
We've been to Mexico, South America, to Japan, China, Thailand. I come from a multicultural family. I'm half Japanese and African American and half Irish Italian, and so I grew up with a lot of varied, strong influences, and that was definitely reflected with the food I grew up with.
One of the foods the couple loves is chili crisp, an oil and chili-based condiment popular in Asian cuisine.
We just got really into chili crisp several years ago, and we got really interested in what would be our perfect chili crisp. We just started iterating batch after batch after batch and tweaking small things and testing it with people and running it again for a really long time until we got to that ultimate version.
That ultimate version became the chili crisp Kari Kari.
We named it Kari Kari for my grandma, and so Kari Kari is a Japanese word, one of the many words that means crunchy or crispy in Japanese.
Chili crisp may have gotten its start in the Far East, but Ruby and Rob make their creation in a commercial kitchen near South Seattle.
We went through dozens of chilies, just tasting them, and then combining them in different ways to really create this bouquet that as you eat it, you get kind of like a heat, a little smoke, a little chew.
The #1 thing that most people notice right away is that big crunch, because we have those really big pieces of crispy golden garlic that float to the top.
Kari Kari's unique flavor has gained a huge following, with fans putting it on just about everything.
Everybody loves with eggs, with grilled meats, you know, any kind of protein like that. But it's also really fun to mix it in with fats, you know, mix it in with the cream cheese, mix it in with the sour cream, mix it with an ice cream.
In the beginning, we were making just a few hundred a week, and now we make around 2,000 jars a week.
Even though we've grown so much, right? We started with one store and we're in close to 400 now. That's barely scratching the surface as far as like where people buy food, you know? So there is still way more runway to grow.
Food and family, two ingredients that have given Ruby and Rob a recipe for success.
We're just so grateful and so thankful for all of the support. I mean, truly, truly, truly.
All right, thank you, Jim. You can find Kari Kari in local stores or on their website. A popular brand of soda got its start in Port Angeles. Ed Bedford is the man behind the aptly named Bedford Sodas. The former beverage distributor created the company in 1984 when he says he couldn't find a good cream soda on the market. That first flavor led to everything from root beer to ginger ale. You'll easily find Bedfords all over the Olympic Peninsula, across the country, and in some cocktail lounges. The next time you find yourself out of town at a local souvenir shop, there's a good chance those tchotchkes were made in Monroe. Here again is Jim.
At a manufacturing facility in Monroe, memories are being minted before they're even made.
You're at Morris Magnets, and we manufacture gift and souvenir products and sell them all around the country. We had a good day yesterday.
Co-owner Bill Peterson bought the promotional products business nearly 30 years ago. Today, it's one of the largest of its kind in the country.
We work with zoos, aquariums, museums, theme parks, university bookstores. Some of the names you'll probably be familiar with would be Disney, as an example. We do things for Google. We do things for Microsoft. We're doing coasters. We're doing picture frames. We're doing awards.
But by far the most popular product they make are their magnets.
Right now we're putting out about 30,000 units a day. Paper prints come out from the graphic design team. Those prints are actually laminated onto different materials. So they may take paper print and laminate it to acrylic. They may laminate it to a recycled wood board. We cut it all out by hand back in the day. And then we moved over to lasers, and with the laser, they can just punch in a number and the machine knows where the parts are at and it cuts everything out. There's different wattage of lasers that we have. Some that would take your finger off and some that give you a nice burn. The laser room in the back runs 24 hours a day. After the lasers cut them out, there's guys back there, if they're a magnet, they have to buff each piece individually because there's a little bit of residue left on there by the laser. And then after the operator's done with that, they bring them out to the shipping department, and the shipping department will either sticker them or wrap them based on customers' needs. We've got over 60 employees here, and it's great to see everyone grow with us as a company. I mean, we're the big family here.
From cute to corporate, Morris Magnets is leaving its mark one refrigerator door at a time.
If it says Made in USA on the back of a magnet, chances are we made it.
All right, thank you, Jim. Love the evening magnet. The biggest order Morris Magnets ever received was 750,000 pieces for Disney to promote Cars 2.
Still to come, the jacket that stood the test of time.
The design itself is very timeless.
Plus, see how the iconic Pendleton blankets are actually made right here in Washington. Local stories make a difference. With the power to enrich lives, strengthen communities, and make us smile. Evening is made possible by Primera Blue Cross. Primera Blue Cross, always in your corner.
Welcome back to this special edition of Evening as we highlight local companies based right here in Washington State. For more than a century, Filson has outfitted loggers and celebrities alike, and they have this one particular jacket that has always stayed in style. It's a handmade piece of history you can wear today.
Well, it's one of those pieces that it's endured for decades and decades since it was patented in 1914. Still remains to be one of our top-selling jackets today.
Seattle-based Filson's Mackinaw wool kept prospectors warm and dry during the Yukon Gold Rush. And the jacket made from that material, the Mackinaw Wool Cruiser, went to work in Northwest forests. Today, more than a century after it was patented, the jacket's design remains the same. but the work it does is different. Here's country singer Chris Stapleton wearing one as he sang the national anthem during the 2023 Super Bowl. No matter who's wearing it, there's one thing each coat has in common.
This jacket's made right here in Seattle, down in Kent, Washington.
This Kent factory makes 6,500 Mackinac Cruiser jackets a year. The 29 pieces of fabric that become one of these jackets get cut by a computer. But making a Mackinac Cruiser still requires a human touch.
This is the jacket, how it starts out.
Experienced sewers stitch those pieces together seam by seam and button by button until the meticulous final inspection.
Once we introduce all of the pieces to the line, it takes about an hour for it to be all the way through inspection and completed.
I think this design itself is very timeless. It's something that looks as good today as it did probably 100 years ago.
These jackets are built to last, like this one from the 1940s.
This would have cost about $2.75 back in the day.
They're also built to serve.
This was part of an official uniform for the U.S. Forest Service that we would produce here in Seattle. We still outfit the Forest Service today.
And this limited edition Mackinac Wool Cruiser was built for a birthday.
So this is one that we built for the 110th anniversary. There's 110 of them. The jacket is styled after the original cruiser, but it's also been updated to mimic what we now build for the urban client.
Whether you're wearing it out or wearing it out, this Made in Washington coat continues to be a classic.
It's functional, it's pragmatic, it is timeless, just doesn't go out of style.
Filson also has Mackinac Cruisers in women's sizes, and keep an eye out for those special editions because they sell out immediately. Two childhood friends from Issaquah are behind one of the most successful sock companies in the country. Jake Director and Riley Goodman started Strideline in 2009 while attending college at the UW. Soon after, they got some big-name clients.
One time we woke up and Snoop Dogg had tweeted a picture of our socks and we were like, oh my God, we've done it. So, you know, stuff like that happens along the way that's so cool. And I think probably the most notable one is we were watching the Seahawks playoffs game, and around halftime there was a close-up of Marshawn Lynch going into the end zone, and it zoomed in on him, and he was wearing our Strideline socks in a game. And we had no idea. We didn't, intentionally pay him to do this. He just did it on his own accord, and it was awesome. I think it really put Strideline on the map.
Yeah. Marshawn has gone on to be a spokesperson. Strideline now has licensing deals with everything from corporations to the NCAA and most recently, the NFL. Pendleton makes some of the most iconic wool blankets anywhere in the country. And while they're based in Pendleton, Oregon, they also have a company in Washington that offers free tours. Here's Jim.
Really loud, you can hear it all over town.
Washougal, Washington has heard this whistle 4 times a day for more than a century. Because this is where Pendleton has been making wool blankets and textiles since 1912. It's one of only 4 remaining wool mills left in the United States. And the only one that welcomes visitors on daily behind-the-scenes tours.
Very popular. We get people from all over to see them.
The legacy of this Pendleton factory is as long as the rolls of colorful yarn it spins up daily.
Here we have a carding machine dating back to the late 30s, early 40s.
It stretches from the antique machines still working hard on the factory floor
100% virgin wool, meaning that it's only been spun or twisted one time.
to the workers who go back generations. Katie has been here for 15 years. Her father worked here too.
The wool's gonna come off of the beam and hit roller, 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 and then be wound onto the wooden bobbins. These machines spin at a speed of 5,000 rotations per minute.
This place moves to a constant rhythm. especially in the room where yarn becomes blanket. Just over 1,000 blankets roll off the line each day, blankets that represent beloved national parks.
This loom here is actually weaving our Grand Canyon National Park blanket.
Native American heroes.
This is our Chief Joseph blanket in gray.
History.
Every blanket has a different story. Every design has a different story.
Every blanket is also hand-finished.
I've been working for Pendleton for 37 years.
Lupe Rodriguez only has a rough estimate of how many blankets have passed through her hands during those years.
Maybe thousands of them.
Really puts it in perspective how many different hands that have touched it, all the steps that it's gone through.
It's ready to go. Done.
But after it leaves this factory, a Pendleton blanket will likely pass through many more hands and continue that colorful legacy.
And they're often passed down from generation to generation.
I just think they're cozy and soft and timeless, and they last forever.
All right, thank you, Jim. You can tour Pendleton's wool mill in Washougal on weekdays for free.
Coming up, the Washington Company helping make the world a sweeter place.
We are hanging out at Fran's Chocolates in Georgetown, just one of the Washington-made goodies that we are highlighting in this special. In Auburn, there's a company that is helping hundreds of other businesses make sweet treats around the world. Here again is Jim.
Since they opened in 2002, Top Pot gained a reputation for making some of the best donuts in the Northwest. But the Seattle-based company has something in common with other donut makers all over the world. They all rely on a company in Auburn to help create their confections.
We've been here over 100 years, and there's still several customers that are even around the corner that are surprised that we're here.
The name Bellshaw has been admired in the donut machine-making industry ever since brothers Thomas and Walter Bellshaw started the company more than a century ago.
The story goes that the Bellshaw brothers were eating lunch at a small coffee shop and saw donuts being made by hand with a baking powder can. Walter commented that he could build a better machine, and in 1922 he did.
From small mom-and-pop shops to major makers like Krispy Kreme, Dunkin', and Hostess, Bellshaw is the largest supplier of donut-making equipment in the world.
Raw steel comes in the one end of the building every few days. It goes through a fabrication department and then goes into one of two different areas, into the retail area to build retail products, the smaller mom-and-pop type products, or into the industrial area where they build the large conveyorized automated equipment. Here in our 85,000 square foot facility in Auburn, Washington, you see behind us is our smallest industrial piece of equipment. It's a proofer and a fryer. This one is actually capable of 200 dozen per hour. So it goes through a proofer at 65% humidity, about 100 degrees, stays in there for about 40 minutes, and then drops into the shortening and cooks for about 2 minutes.
Even with all their success, Bellshaw is always looking to improve, which makes research and development one tasty endeavor.
We've been building quite a few test units lately, kind of reinvigorating the innovative spirit. And when we do, we test, and we test on products. So yeah, it's about every other week we've got donuts floating through here.
They may not be a big name in their own backyard, but in the world of donuts, Bellshaw is a hole-in-one.
Yeah, helping feed the world these wonderful pastries is just icing on the donut.
All right, thank you, Jim. You might think Americans eat more donuts than anybody else in the world, but the actual per capita consumption rate is highest north of the border. Congratulations to Canada. Bellshaw actually makes the donut making equipment for Tim Hortons up there too.
Coming up, an award-winning hot sauce made in Bellingham. Can Jose handle the heat?
Yeah. Welcome back to our Made in Washington special. Let's heat things up now with a story about an award-winning line of hot sauces. Funky's Hot Sauce Factory is a small family-run business. The peppers that go into these spicy concoctions are fermented and bottled in Bellingham. Its Scene Stars flavor took first place in the 2022 Screaming Mimi Awards. And the stellar fuzz sauce was recently featured in the popular YouTube series Hot Ones. Our Jose Cedeno did his own hot sauce challenge with the owner of Funky's, and it didn't take long for the sweat to start pouring.
Oh yeah, like who eats this, dude?
Yeah, I know.
My hands are shaking already.
Funky's hot sauce can be found locally in stores and online. And with that, we are out of time. Our thanks to Franz Chocolates for having us over. For more information on any of the products featured in tonight's show, hit us up on our website, king5evening.com. Thanks so much for watching.